Hey everyone, Angryponcho here, and welcome to those of you who are new to my videos. To my regular subscribers, welcome back. In this video I'm going to be showing you guys how to make a sphere in Minecraft. So we can go ahead and get started. You guys have seen this track before. We're going out to our sphere building location, which is, I've chosen the top of a mountain out here. We've got our cart boosters. Our whole cart system is designed to shoot us all the way out here nice and fast. So we can go ahead and get started here. Real fast, I'm just going to go ahead and make a chest here so I can put my resources in. You can see the amount of wood we've got. We've got 4 buckets of lava, and we have a bit of glass as well. You're going to need about 12 inventory squares worth of glass. So that's 12 slots times 64 blocks. Quite a bit of glass. We're going to go ahead and use a sign to title our project here. Just stick it down on top of the dirt here. Oh wait, that isn't what I wanted. No. The giant lava ball. That's what we want. Much better. So let's go ahead and get started. In the upper right hand corner you can see the layer that we're on. It's the first layer. And the way that these little diagrams work is the blue squares that you see there are new squares that we're adding in this current level, and those squares are going to be made of glass because our giant sphere is going to be made of glass. That way we can see through it and see the lava we're going to put inside. So for each level we look at, there will be yellow squares and blue squares. The blue ones are the ones that we are adding on this level, and the yellow ones are squares that have already been added on previous levels, and we don't have to worry about. So you see now we're going to transition to level 2 shortly. But first, I'm going to use my wooden blocks to trace the outline of the layer I've just placed. So you can see I've put down my mostly circular layer of glass, and I'm going to put a layer of wood just on the outside there to make an outline. And now on to layer 2. So you can see now we have yellow squares where we've already placed the glass, and we have that outlined in wood. And then we have the blue squares there to indicate where our glass is supposed to go on the level on which we're currently working. So it's not too complicated if you can try and follow along with the diagrams. I go around and just put a layer around the outside first, and then I go back and touch up the edges. These first 2 layers are a little bit slow. This is only about double the speed at which I recorded it, just because if it were normal speed it would be quite slow. It'd take forever to do this. You can expect this project to take you between 2 and 3 hours the first time you do it. This is my second time building a sphere, and it took me about an hour and 45 minutes just to record, and that's with time to go back and get some resources and that sort of thing. So sun's starting to go down here, and so the next thing that we're going to do after we finish putting our wooden ring on the outside of the second layer is to put some torches down so we can see what we're doing here. So now things are going to start to speed up a little bit more because you've already seen how the pattern goes. You can look at the grid in the upper right hand corner, pause the video at any time you like if you're going to build along with me, which I'd recommend would be you watch the whole video through first before you try to take on this project on your own, because it does get complicated and it takes a while to do, as well as requiring quite a bit of resources. So you see now we're circling around, putting the third layer of glass on, and then for the last step of layer 3 we put on our outline in wood. Now we're going to continue in this pattern for the first 8 layers of our sphere, which will eventually have 16 layers total. That's about the minimum that you want to have if you want to actually make something that looks like a circle. Because anything significantly less than that, and it's the blockiness, you can't see past the fact that it's made out of squares. It just doesn't look round enough. So 16 layers is about what you want to aim for, and the schematic that I've uploaded on my Facebook account, link in the description, will have these diagrams all laid out on one image, so you can look at them all at once. Because of course it's a sphere, so the top half and bottom half will be the same except reversed. So that's why you only see 8 images in that picture there, if you follow that link. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and put some torches here on layer 5, and then place our wood on top of that. Now, once we get to layer 5, we're going to start having gaps in terms of where we've placed glass. And so you can see when I finish placing the wood on top of the glass we've just put down, there are gaps in the wood as we go around. But that's fine. We're going to come back and actually fix that a little bit later, because some of that wood is going to be replaced with glass later on to make our sphere solid. Because by the time we finish with this, we want the sphere to be made entirely of glass with no wood at all. So you can see here I'm going around and I'm using the wood that I've placed to put glass on the side of. And that way I don't have to try to put glass over air, and I don't have to waste glass spaces to try to go ahead and do that. And so you see here now I go ahead and just trace the outline of what I've done. And it's alright to leave little spaces as long as you put a piece of wood on top of every piece of glass, at least as far as the first half of the sphere goes. So we'll go ahead and proceed just like this. So there's layer 6, onto layer 7, we place not a whole lot of glass is added in terms of new squares in layers 7 and 8. Because basically it's starting to round out, like layers 7 and 8 are almost exactly the same size. And so the number of squares that you add on between 6 and 7 and between 7 and 8 is significantly less than you would at the very beginning between the first two rows. And so you see there it's maybe a total of 12 new pieces of glass that are added. Circle doesn't get much, the derivative or whatever has decreased. If you know any calculus, you kind of understand what I'm trying to say there. And now I slid this down a little bit so we can see what we're doing here. I'm going around on top of layer 7, and I'm putting some wood, not just on the squares where we put glass, but on the squares in between as well, so that we have a surface we can use to build the 8th layer. Because otherwise there'd be too much air in between them, and we wouldn't be able to put glass in all the squares that we need, since we're not able to place things diagonally in Minecraft. So we go ahead and finish that off. And now we switch to layer 8, which is where we're standing at the same height we just were. We're going to go ahead and circle around a few times. I like to go in one direction and then turn around and go in the other to make sure I do things symmetrically. And we'll place all the new squares of glass for layer 8. And now this is where things start to get tricky. Every piece of wood that we placed on top of layer 7 at the same height as layer 8, we are now going to chop up with our axe and replace with glass, as well as filling in the gaps in between the pieces of glass we placed. So you can see when I get to this next edge, I'm going to put 4 pieces of glass in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4 right there. Delete that wood and put some there. See, basically I'm filling it in so that we have a solid line where layer 8 will be. So go ahead and place the rest of the glass down there. Only a few squares left here. Come around to the... I keep falling off. Come around to the last side of the circle and fill that in. And that is going to be it for layer 8. So you can see layer 8 is now comprised entirely of glass. We'll put some torches down since it's getting darker now. Alright, there we go. And I decide to, I believe I go and celebrate quite shortly. Yeah, here we go. I decided to go celebrate by killing myself. That's always fun. Yeah. Alright, next step, we're going to go around inside the circle that we've built. We essentially have a bowl shape now. It's half of our sphere is done, or at least almost done. What we need to do now is get a couple axes, and this will take 4 or 5 axes, I forget exactly how many. You're going to go around and delete all the wood, basically in the lower 3 layers of the sphere. Basically all the way up to the last layer. Now there are going to be some gaps in the glass from where you've deleted wood. You're going to want to fill those in with glass. Fill them in on the inside of the sphere, not the outside, otherwise you'll have jagged edges poking out. And there are 2 holes. The bottom 2 holes in each corner, you can see them there, we're going to be leaving open. So if you pause at the video, I'll put a time in the description of where you can pause the video to look at the 2 squares we're leaving open. But it's those 2 down in the bottom of the corners. Not too hard. Now we're going to jump up here to where I believe this is in layer 6 that we're currently removing these pieces of wood. These are the layers of wood that were placed on top of layer 5, and we built layer 7 on top of. There's actually quite a few of them in this layer that we're going to have to go around and chop up with our axe, but we're going to work our way all the way around and get rid of every single one of those pieces of wood. And once that is done, we're going to have to go back around and replace them with glass, otherwise our sphere will have too many holes in it. So you can see there's 3 squares that are empty there, and there's 3 that need to be replaced in each corner, on each side of each corner rather, so 6 per corner, 3 per side. There we go, that's the last of the wood I believe, and then we got our glass out, and you can see layer 6 has some gaps in it. We're just going to go around and fill in those gaps. We're going to use 3 squares of glass for each one, 1, 2, 3, and then 3 in a line here, 3 in the corner, right there, and the pattern remains the same, placing glass on the inside of the sphere rather than the outside. If this is going too fast for you, or at any point you're trying to losing track of what's going on, just jump back in the video, go back like 30 seconds, watch something again. If you need to pause it at a certain point, that's fine. Now for layer 9, I don't know why there's no footage of this, but just go up to layer 8 and place exactly the same thing again. 1 piece of glass on top of each piece of glass from layer 8, because layers 8 and 9 are identical. Once we've done that, we're going to place a wood line not on the outside. We're not going to trace the outside of layer 9. We're going to place blocks of wood immediately on the interior. So we're going to have sort of a ring around the inside of the top of our bowl made out of wood. So you can see it if I pan out in a second here, you'll be able to see the ring of wood. I guess I didn't pan out, I was too busy working. And then from here, looking at the layer 10 up there, we're not going to be placing just the blue ones down. We actually need to place the entire outline of that layer. So we're looking at both yellow and blue, where the blue ones would be the ones that we are not going to have in the next layer, and the yellow ones will be the ones that will be constant on the inside of the circle. So instead of looking at the colors for now, we're just going to look at the outline and the shape, and we're going to build it on top of those wooden blocks we've just placed. It can be a little bit tricky, and you might have to refer to the schematics fairly frequently, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. You know, you have to look at the diagrams when you're trying to build things. And here I build a little bit of a wooden elevator to get us to the top. Nice little ladder system. And then we get our axe out, and we're going to delete all the pieces of wood that we placed on the inside of layer 10. Or excuse me, on inside of layer 9, on top of which layer 10 is built. Once we delete those pieces of wood, we're going to go, we'll put a ladder here just to get up to the top, because the bowl is starting to close up over our heads, so we're not going to be able to climb up the walls anymore. So once we've done that, we go back up here, and we place pieces of wood on the inside of layer 10. Again, making that ring around the inside of the top of the bowl. And these are the pieces of wood that we're going to build most of layer 11 on top of, which is the diagram we're looking at now. So now we've got the wooden outline built. You see I ran all the way around there just to check, and I believe there was an error at some point that I fixed. I saw one that looked different than the others. Yeah, there it was. Replace that one with glass, fix it. And now we go ahead and we trace the outside, basically. We create a shape that looks like layer 11 there. So you can see I start on the edges, where layer 10 had 5, layer 11 only has 3 on each outside end, on the north, south, east, and western sides of the circle. So you can see I'm tracing those out to be shorter, and then I basically work down from there. So I say I'll build the 3 on the edge, and then I build the next 3 on the upper right. And then I do 3 in a row diagonally and go down 3, and then I'm already to the other side, and I repeat the pattern 4 times. Layer 11 is built. Now we have to go ahead and delete the inside layer of wood from inside layer 11 and go around the top and place it on the inside, or excuse me, delete the wood from the inside of layer 10 and place it on the inside of layer 11. Almost there, only 16 layers in the sphere, so we're well more than halfway done now. Things start to get easier near the end here. I believe this is the last layer where we're required to have a wooden ring to make this easier for us. So now we build a layer of 5 on the side there, on top of the 3, actually on top of and next to the 3 from layer 11. And we just run around the outside. I like to get on top of the layer I'm building and build it down in front of me as I go around. That way I don't have to worry about falling into the circle at any point. We go ahead and remove all the wood from the inside. I didn't show it that time since we've seen it before. And for the one last time, we put the wood on the inside of the top of the bowl, right around layer 12 there. And we're going to build layer 13 right on top of that. Fairly straightforward here. You're not going to be able to do it in the 15 minutes that this video lasts, so don't expect to be able to build a sphere in any short amount of time. And you probably will make a mistake. The first time I tried to build a sphere, I had to do like the second half twice because I screwed up on layer 9 and basically didn't put it in. I went straight from 8 to 10, and the sphere was shorter than it was wide, and it looked funny. Now for layer 14, we are putting a solid ring of glass around above the top, and so we don't actually need to have a wooden layer to build on top of, because it's easy for us to build on the sides of the glass that we've already placed. And quite frankly, you could do this for any of the previous layers, but it just gets easier as you get higher and higher to the top, because there's less and less space to fill up, basically. So you see here, I had to start on top of my ladder because there was no overlap between the two layers, because I can't build glass on top of air. So I had to just start my first piece of glass on top of my ladder sequence, and then from there I build off to the sides, and this is layer 15, second to last layer. Once this one is done, there we go. Now all we have to do is build on top of it, and I did just place a single piece of glass down and build on the side of it, and then delete it. And we're going to circle around from here and just build on the sides of those pieces of glass. And that is going to complete the last layer of our giant glass sphere. We're going to bust through the glass here and break down a few levels of wood, turn around and fill in that hole. And now the glass skeleton of our sphere is complete. Now that we're going to put the lava dumps in here, but in order to figure out where this is going to end up on the ground, I placed 2 blocks of wood where the empty holes were that we're going to pour the lava out of. And I dug my way down until I was directly underneath one of the pieces of wood. Dug straight down from there. I had to go get a pickaxe here. I figured I'd show that you are going to have to get some tools if you want to do this properly. Because you don't want the lava just dump out on the ground, or you might not be able to get down from your sphere, you might die, lose resources, whatever else. And here I am, I'm just digging a tunnel straight down underneath one of the 2 squares. There's going to be 8 of these total where lava pours out from the bottom part of our circle. And here I just build a ladder as we go, digging out the squares, and aha! Now a clear path has been made underneath these 2 holes. I didn't show the second one because it's basically the exact same thing. We place 3 pieces of glass here to keep the lava from flowing inside our circle. Put a piece of lava on the inside of that corner there. You can pause the video at that spot to get the exact timing right. You basically can put it wherever you want inside your sphere as long as it pours out and not into the circle. And then here we can see the lava pouring through the 2 tunnels I've dug and out onto the landscape. Exactly what we want. Here's what the inside of the circle should look like when you're done, all made of glass with 4 blocks of lava, 1 in each corner. And I got rid of all these pieces of wood here. They're just markers for me. It's pretty big inside actually when you're done. Here it is from the outside. And that's it. Alright, thanks for watching my video, guys. I hope you liked it. If you want to see more of my World of Minecraft, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you already have, I'll see you next time.